Hi, have you ever had those moments when suddenly everything comes together and you think, I've got it now? Because I had one of those a few years ago. I was researching the role of the business analyst, and I kept being told by some very, very experienced and highly expert BAs how difficult it was to define the role. And then on the other side of the coin, I was also hearing from a lot of people in the BA community how they didn't feel they were recognised. And of course, once you start to put those two facts together, you can think, is it the fact that the role can't be well defined that is contributing to this lack of recognition? And so how do we improve this definition? And the light bulb moment came for me when a friend and colleague of mine said, have you looked at service science? And it really was a moment of clarity, because I looked at the service way of looking at the world, and actually it answered a lot of questions, and it helped me to understand how I might move the discussion about roles forward. Because while I was looking at business analyst roles, actually, there's a lot of research into various roles, particularly within the transformational change community. So there are papers on the role of the project manager, even though that is a very, very mature discipline in lots of ways. There are papers on the role of the chief data officer. So you can see that actually a number of these different roles are being examined because it's difficult to come up with a definition. And when I looked at service science and the service way of looking at the world, it really was a light bulb moment. And this is what I want to talk to you about today, is how looking at the service viewpoint can give us those moments of clarity and can really help us to understand whether we're looking at our role within the transformational change area, or whether we're looking at our entire organization's role within its business environment. So just to give you a little bit of background about service science. Service science is an emergent body of knowledge. It's a research area, and there's a lot of empirical and theoretical research that has gone into it. Originally, a lot of the work came from the world of marketing. And when I go through some of the ways of thinking about service, you can see that there are roots within the marketing area. But it has also been looked at within technological fields and within the areas of information systems and change. At its heart, though, it's concerned with the nature of service. And it looks at service in a very particular way. And although we often talk about delivering services, actually, it's what I think of as a slightly higher level concept that takes in both services and products. A key element of it is concerned with value. And this is something I want to look at in this talk, which is what we mean by value. And it has been defined as the study of value. And in order to understand and look at service and to look at value, it also considers what it calls service systems, different actors, if you like, that can be individuals, that can be a team, that can be a whole organization, and how these different service systems need to interact when they are concerned with offering service. So let's take a look at a definition of service. And here is one that I particularly like. And the reason I like this definition is because it includes some key elements that we need to really think about when we're thinking of this concept of service. So the first one is it's to do with resources and using resources. And sometimes I even think about resources as assets that I might possess as an individual, or the team might possess, or so on. And we use those resources to work with others, in this case, as it says, another actor, to create value with and for that other actor's benefit. And there are some key concepts in there that are very, very important. So the service mindset is very much focused on outcomes. We need to use these resources or these assets, but ultimately we're aiming for somewhere. I always think that when I look at individuals working within the transformational change area, that some people are very much focused on outcomes, but occasionally we get a bit derailed because we get pushed into looking, in my terminology, at our feet. And what I mean by that is we get so hooked into how we do something, we sometimes forget that actually we're aiming for something that's just a bit more. So if we're looking at service, if we're looking at what service encompasses, there are 4 different dimensions that I like to consider. The first one is it's holistic. And by that, what I mean is it is focused on outcomes. And so it's focused on all of the elements that need to come together to achieve those outcomes. But another part of that holistic view is this idea of these interactions between service systems. So it's holistic in the sense of the elements that need to come together in order for the service to be offered. And sometimes those elements are different actors and different service systems that are interacting in order to get to those outcomes. And alongside that, then, each of these service systems offer resources or assets, or if we were to take maybe a business architectural view, we might talk about capability, because capability is another good way of looking at this. Because it's not just that they bring together skills and knowledge. Sometimes the resources are integrating other aspects of a capability, such as having the authority to make decisions. So resource integration is a key part of pulling together a service offering. The third dimension is it is a customer-centric approach. And this is always quite interesting, I think, when we talk about customer centricity, because you get organizations that talk about their focus on the customer and we put the customers first and all these sorts of things. And I don't know about you, but speaking as a customer of quite a lot of organizations, I think I can always tell. I think I get a sense as a customer of whether or not an organization really is focused on customers. But if we're going to apply a service mindset and a service view, customer centricity is absolutely vital. To use the old phrase, we actually have to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. Aligned with that, then, is this core concept of value co-creation that pulls together, I think, all of the other concepts. And value co-creation is extremely important because it moves us away from some of the language we seem to be using about value at the moment. And this is what I call the value fallacy, because you may have heard this, you may use this expression, but we really need to question this concept of delivering value. And the service research is very concerned with looking at value. But we keep hearing it, don't we? We're delivering value everywhere. If we actually did deliver value as much as we say we're delivering value, then value is going to be ensuing in a lot of different situations. And not only are we delivering value, we're delivering it early. And not only that, if we use an agile approach, we're almost guaranteed to deliver value early. But is this actually true? Can we actually justify these statements? Because what does deliver value actually mean? You might say, well, deliver value is about having a solution or a product that has great features. the features that customers want, that is usable. So actually, not only does it have the great features, but they can be accessed relatively easily. That is delivered within the right time scale. So it's when the customer needs it. And as a result, offers great benefits to the customer. But I want to talk to you about a little scenario that I know about because it involves a company that I'm very familiar with. And it's a company that is a software development company. And this company produces a product that within a particular industry is very well regarded. It's quite a complex product. It offers a lot of potential benefits because of the great features. It's been developed to be highly usable. And it is deployed into organizations all around the world. A few years ago, this organization decided that it would modify its software development approach to use Scrum, the agile method. And they did this. They built a backlog. They implemented sprints. They delivered features into the product, and they delivered those features incrementally as improvements to the customers. But what happened after a quite short while was the customers came back to them and said, could you please stop it? Because actually what they didn't want was new incremental releases of the product because they found it too disruptive. And that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because this is where, as an organization, the organization thinks these are great features. Our customers are really going to benefit from these, and we're going to get them out to them early because we're using Scrum, which, promotes incremental delivery. But actually, the customers didn't like it, and they asked them to stop, and they asked them not to deliver increments so frequently. The other thing that happened with this product was that some customers, it was noticed, purchased the product, but then didn't renew to buy a repeat license. And there's an annual maintenance and support license, and they didn't buy it. And when they investigated this, they found the reason was because although the product had been installed, and as I say, it is a very, very good product, a very high quality product, and had been quite expensive to buy, beyond the installation, the product was never used. And the reason it wasn't used was because it's quite a complex product. And to get the benefits out of that product, it actually needs quite a lot of analysis and change management in order to make sure that the usage is effective for the organization and really offers great features to the customers. And this was a level of complexity that the organizations just felt they couldn't take on board. Now, for a software company, if you don't have the license renewal, then obviously that is a stream of income that is lost. But you have to ask yourself, if you stand in the customer's shoes, the customers who have said, please stop delivering these new features, and the other types of customer who's saying, yes, we've bought it, but actually it's too complex and we have not embedded it in our organization, so we're not going to renew the license. Did these customers obtain value from that product? And did the product deliver value to them? And the answer is obviously no, because ultimately it's not up to those of us who deliver a product to say, have we got value for you? It is only through usage and through actually applying these great features that the likelihood is that the potential benefits will be realized. So it's good to contrast two different paradigms here. The value delivery paradigm, and I really like this photo because this reminds me so much of work that can go on within the IT and change industry, where within a particular discipline, some work is done and it's good work, but then documents or artifacts or something gets thrown over the wall the metaphorical wall, and maybe not used. And sometimes we don't know, because just by delivering something, there is no guarantee of use. And we can deliver products and we can deliver services, but there is no guarantee that that will then be taken forward so that value ensues and is realized. So the paradigm that we look at in the service world is the value co-creation paradigm, where we're looking at service for the benefit of another, where we're looking at integration of resources in order to co-create. And if we're going to co-create value, we have to understand it from a number of different angles. And this process sets that out. So first of all, we have to think about collaboration to identify where value might be achieved. Now, this is quite interesting for those of us who work in the transformational change arena, no matter which discipline, because we know, don't we, that actually we're sometimes put in the position of being told we have to implement something, we have to put a new product in, we have to make a particular change because somebody has determined that this is going to be effective and valuable. And I think we've all come across the situations where actually looking at, well, where is the real problem here? And let's really collaborate with the other business actors or service systems or interacting entities or whatever terminology you want to use. But let's collaborate with them to really find out what needs to be addressed here and where there is a potential for some value to be achieved. And once we've done that, we need to then think about collaborating to develop a solution that offers value, because we can only offer, we can't guarantee. And that collaboration, again, is about pulling together the resources of the different entities and service systems involved in order to develop that solution. And then finally, we still have to do more work, because we still have to collaborate to ensure that value is realized. And this is where we look at value in use. You know, if we've identified the problem, if we've really understood what customers want, if we've collaborated and we've come up with a great solution, but if it is installed or deployed and is never used, then value is not realized. And so we have to make sure that we look at this holistically. Now, service thinking is built on the service science principles, and it offers a way of thinking and a set of techniques that allow us to work through this value co-creation process. And another approach that also aligns with this is design thinking. And design thinking, again, is very much a collaborative, iterative way of developing solutions that hopefully can be deployed and value can be realized from them. And there are many things that these two approaches have in common, but one of them is that they build on each other. They understand that they're customer-centric. They understand the need to experiment and to get feedback in order to do the co-creation process. So if we look at the components of a service, what we're looking at is, first of all, the nature of the service being offered, the context. And quite often context is absolutely key in this situation. We look at the architecture that pulls it together in order to make the service work. We identify the value proposition, and it can only ever be a proposition because we cannot deliver value, but we can understand what the proposition is, what the proposed value needs to be. And we understand the customers and the experience that they want. And these components together allow us to take a service view. Just to talk a little bit about customers, though, when you work in transformational change or IT-enabled change or whatever we want to call it, understanding customers is complex, because we actually have different levels of customers, and we need to understand the service that we offer to these different customers in order that we can understand how we go about co-creating value with them. So I've put 3 levels here, but in some organizations it may be more than this. But our first level are the colleagues that we work with within the business change and IT world, because we have to collaborate and co-create value with them. Beyond that, having come up with solutions by working with our colleagues within the business change world, we then have the colleagues who work in the operational divisions in our organizations who are actually delivering to customers externally. And that takes us onto the third level, who are the external consumers of the products and services, and the intermediary partners and resellers that work with those consumers. So we have to understand that there's different types of customer. And obviously within each of these categories, we also have to understand that there are different types of customer in terms of personal or organizational characteristics. So it's a complex picture. But if we think about it through a service lens, at least we understand that there needs to be a focus on some of the complexities that we deal with. So if you look at the service science way of looking at the world, and if you look at this interactions between these service systems, you can see that you have a service ecosystem. And this, as it says on the slide, has been defined as a community of interacting entities. And I quite like that community because that reinforces the sense that we're collaborating and we're co-creating value together. But looking at it as an ecosystem also helps us to understand that there are various different actors involved in this, and they all offer service through the form of products and services to each other. And it's a complex picture, but understanding this is the service that we offer and taking the service mindset view on the service that we offer helps give us some clarity and helps give the other interacting entities within our ecosystem clarity about what we do. So when we're looking at service, we need to understand that we're not focusing on just one area. And this is just an example of something that sometimes comes up, which is that people talk about, well, is it all about the user experience? But that implies that the service is all about technology. And actually, in most organizations, even organizations where it looks like everything they do is based on technology, there are always those other aspects. There are always the customer experience aspects that go beyond the technology. And it's really important that we understand that. And that also has to be looked at within a business and social context that explains why the customer experience is the one that we expect to give our customers and what level of value we want to co-create with them. So within an organization, if we look at things from the service perspective, we can clarify roles. We can say, what are the services and what is the overarching service that this particular discipline offers? For an organization, we can say, what is the overarching service that we offer our customers externally? And the way of thinking about service helps us to be customer-centric and helps us to understand the real nature of how we achieve beneficial outcomes with them. So within our organizations, we need to consider embedding a service mindset. I really believe that understanding things from the service perspective is quite revolutionary in thinking. It takes us away from looking at our feet. It takes us away from talking about how we're going to do things and ensures our overarching focus is on delivery of beneficial outcomes. So to embed, we need to make sure that the people in the team, the people in the organization understand the motivation behind what we do. What is our organizational context? What is the business and social context that we work within that we feel we offer some benefit to? We need to ensure that they have the mindset that looks at beneficial outcomes and that understands value co-creation and understands the concepts of collaboration and experimentation and learning. We need to clarify who are our customers and who are we actually delivering service to, and what do they look like and what experience do they want? And we have to ensure that they understand how capability integration and leveraging capability helps us to achieve things in a way that is timely and beneficial. But ultimately, if we want to embed a service mindset, we have to show leadership. And within any organization, whether it is a team, a department, a division, or the whole organization, the leadership really has to underpin and drive adopting a service mindset, because if it doesn't, then it will not happen. The other aspect that we need to look at is ensuring that we put all of the different elements of a service architecture in place. And right at the heart of this is our understanding of our value proposition, because everything else flows off it. And if we pull the service architecture approach together and we ensure we have the service mindset embedded, then we should ensure that our organizations have a service focus which can be so beneficial for our customers and ourselves. So just to summarize, the concept of service and service science and service thinking is concerned with beneficial outcomes for customers and understanding those customers. It's about co-creation of value, not just assuming that because something's been delivered, then value is going to miraculously appear. It's about integration of service systems and their resources, working in a collaborative way to leverage the capability that's there and make sure that there is that focus on outcomes for customers. And it's deployed by having a service mindset and a service architecture. Thank you.